Good afternoon, members of the state. Good afternoon, fellow Zimbabweans. We meet under very sad circumstances in our country, as a movement and as a people. You know that on the 11th of this month, when we were conducting our by-election campaign in Mavuku, after the illegal recalls that visited our nation post the 23rd of August election, one of our members, a pastor, a father, a chain champion, was abducted during the door-to-door in the local suburb of Mavuku here in Harare, after which the party immediately raised the necessary legal and political alarms that necessitated the search of our chain champion, who in our respectful view became a victim of enforced disappearances that have visited our country. 2 days after the search, a very relentless process, very difficult for us as a movement, for the society, and for the people of Mavuku in particular, who had voted their member of parliament, Honorable Kufa, and was illegally recalled from parliament. This horrifying incident is a continuation of the regime's pattern of brutality, violence against our members. The recent murder of our chain champion, including Boneni Ngube, who was killed in Kwekwe as an activist and a member of our movement, Nyasha Jambe, who was also brutally murdered in Gutu, More Blessing Ali in Nyatsimbe, and Tafazwa Chisunge in Glenview. All these matters, on account of politics, cast a dark cloud to our nation in the post-election environment because of the systematic attack on the authentic alternative and the government of choice that was voted for by the people of Zimbabwe, and of course the particular attack on those who are driving change in our country. Furthermore, there has been numerous cases of abductions and torture targeting our members of parliament, our councillors. You know that Honorable Takuza Ngadziore, a recently elected member of parliament and our youngest member of parliament, survived this particular attack when he recorded a live video when he was abducted in broad daylight. A member of parliament abducted by gun-toting men in broad daylight. You know that our former member of parliament, Honorable James Chidakwa, was also abducted by these gun-toting members who are working scot-free and with impunity in our country. Ombera Inente, a recently elected councillor and a member of our youth task force, was also brutally attacked and also assaulted. And also all these people have been injected by poisonous injections, and they've also been going medical treatment. The failure of the regime to bring the perpetrators of these enormous crimes against humanity, and the lawlessness that has visited our country, the total disregard of the law, and the sanctity of life is a cause for concern, not only for our movement, but also for all Zimbabweans, because these incidents are happening on camera and signifying how much impunity and immunity to these perpetrators of violence. The political crisis in Zimbabwe has reached this critical juncture, and our respectful view shows the state of emergency in our country and demands immediate interventions both by local players, regional players, and continental players. It is for that reason that CCC has again petitioned SADC and also initiated a process to petition the Parliament of Zimbabwe against the systematic attack and brutal murder of our activists. We've also commenced our process to write to Chapter 12 institutions, particularly the Human Rights Commission. And more importantly, we've also written and expect the letter to be submitted as a matter of urgency to the Commissioner General of the Police, because all these cases of impunity and immunity are happening, and we expect that the police must be able to investigate these issues so that we're able not only to bring the victims peace, but also more important to make sure that we bring those responsible to account. We've written to the police, particularly emphasizing the point about people who are owning guns and moving with impunity and harassing those that politically differ with the regime in Salisbury. More importantly, we want to emphasize that CCC has condemned these acts, which show cowardice on the part of the regime, which was defeated, and CCC has been punished, and citizens of this country are being punished following the assault on the alternative, and because of the mere fact that citizens rejected ZANU-PF in the watershed election. So all this is within the context of an election that was not fair, that was not credible, both by local, regional, and international standards. Two of our members of the CCC were abducted. One was found after being severely assaulted. And it's a clear case of an animal farm kingdom. That's why we have said this requires a state of emergency, because victims are being turned perpetrators. Because a victim has actually been brought by the police as a perpetrator, and that's why we have written to the Commissioner General, so that we are able to have justice, because this is not a first case where victims, you know that our former Member of Parliament of the 9th Parliament, Honorable Job Sikala, is still in prison right now. Why is Honorable Job Sikala in prison? He was representing Mo Blessing Ali. Mo Blessing Ali was a victim of sponsored, politically motivated violence and murder. The gruesome murder of Mo Blessing Ali, when Honorable Sikala became the lawyer of choice for the victim of the family of Mo Blessing Ali, he actually became the perpetrator, and Honorable Sikala was arrested, and he has spent more than 500 days in prison, showing that Zimbabwe is now an animal farm kingdom where victims have been turned perpetrators, and it's something that we're raising with the police too, so that we are able to have those issues resolved. Just to clarify on the issue of Mavuku, our member was abducted during door-to-door campaign. What that confirms and shows is that elections in this country are being held as a ritual without democracy. How can you have an election without choice under ZANU-PF of Mr. Mnangagwa? The election right now in this country, follow what happened in Gutu. The by-election in Gutu is also a signifier of the crisis that we're facing as a nation, because life is being lost on account of politics. But more importantly, the election is never now about the political choice between the ruling establishment and the alternative. Right now, an election in Zimbabwe means two things. If you want life, you are forced and coerced to vote for ZANU-PF. If you vote for the alternative, which is your choice, you are actually voting for death in the context of the by-election that we held in Gutu. So voting is no longer about the political choice in Zimbabwe right now under Mr. Mnangagwa. Voting is now about a matter of life and death. It is no longer about the political choice. It's no longer about bread and butter issues. That's why Zimbabweans are being coerced to go and vote. It's actually coercion rather than election, which is the problem that we are facing in this country. Takuzo Ngadzo was abducted in broad daylight. We opened a case in police, in Mauboren police. Takuzo Ngadzo's case was reported, and up to today, 2 gun-toting men who are known have not been arrested. The police has not given any statement and anything in relation to that. Sengezo Chabangu committed fraud. He abused criminally the intellectual property of the Citizens Coalition for Change. Nothing has happened to Sengezo Chabangu. Nothing happens. A clear case of impunity that if you work to aid dictatorship, if you work to aid authoritarianism in this country, you are free to continue with anything. Right now, they went to the banks to try and open a criminal conduct to the CBZ, but nothing happens. And these people continue. Why? Because there is impunity to those that are aiding dictatorship and fascism. There are witnesses. There are people, including the one that was tortured. He is a witness to the case, and everyone who participated in the door-to-door are aware. In fact, citizens in Mavuku are aware of the people who took, particularly the vehicle, because this is a vehicle that has been used by members of ZANU-PF in their campaigns. So it's something that happened in broad daylight, signifying the crisis of impunity in the post-August 2023 Sham election. So I received the information that the letters had been read in Parliament and have been read in Senate. And obviously, Mudenda, as an officer of the court, can be interviewed by you members of the media so that he says why he has defied the decision of the High Court. We are a constitutional democratic party, and we ought to exhaust all those avenues because the crisis in Zimbabwe has gone beyond the borders of this country. Why are we saying so? When there is instability in this country, it has bearing in the region, it has bearing in the continent. More importantly, to South Africa and our neighboring countries. It is on that respect that we've engaged SADC, particularly the organ of defense and security, because people are moving this country, are living out of this country as political and economic refugees, and that has a bearing into the region. And we have to make sure that SADC helps us as a member state to domestically resolve our problem. But not only that, we've also invoked some avenues and platforms, and we're going to be unpacking that in due course. We've written a petition to Parliament. We've also engaged Chapter 12 institutions, particularly the Human Rights Commission. We've also obviously been unrolling, and we're going to be communicating a specific political program of action to deal with the political crisis in our country. Look, it's a very sad circumstances, particularly coming from a government functionary, people who are supposed to be apolitical. I'm not so sure that a government functionary can speak for and on behalf of a political party. Parties speak for themselves, unless there is a confirmation of the conflation of the state and the party, which is a very sad scenario because in paper Zimbabwe is a constitutional democracy. And it's very sad because these are cases of loss of life. Life is sacrosanct. We can have political differences, but political difference should not push us into spilling blood on account of political differences. A very sad circumstance because anyone can die. We have people from ZANU-PF who lost their life. We have people from across walk of life who loses their life. And we don't, as a movement, and out of respect and out of our culture as a people, celebrate any loss of life. And more importantly, to plan and orchestrate a member of society on account of political differences. It shows the amount of challenge that is facing our country. It shows the amount of impunity. It shows the amount of a sadistic behavior on part of those who want to play around with the samples and lives of ordinary people. Of course, medical doctors have looked into this issue, and obviously to find ways to make sure that they are able to protect these victims of injections. A very sad scenario because this is not only targeting of people on the basis of the present politics, but these are also people who are being targeted. These are leaders of tomorrow. The future of this country, the future political leadership of this country is being systematically targeted, and something that is very worrying for us because we don't believe that situation in the politics of this country must reach those levels. That's why we have made sure that we attempt and do everything to the best of our ability privately, because you know of the health crisis in this country. You cannot have that support domestically. You cannot have that support, medical support in public institutions, something that has to be fixed when we fix the policy. The substance cannot be confirmed publicly because medical doctors have to do their processes, and respectfully, we don't believe that we ought to share that information in the public. But I can tell you without doubt that these are systematic elimination processes of our younger people, of our younger generations, and the future of this country. So I think I've confirmed about what has been being done, particularly in respect of the High Court sitting that happened this morning, and that made a decision that there shouldn't be any recall of our members of parliament or councillors or senators until this issue that is before the court. And the issue before the court is whether or not the impositor, Sengezo Chabam, has the right to occupy the so-called office of the Secretary General, which does not exist in the Citizens Coalition for Change. Members of the 4th Estate, fellow Zimbabweans, thank you very much.